Hey guys,
Alright.
what's going on? As you saw, Chase just smoked me.
Hey,
Wasn't even close.
new format for everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, it's just a fun format to try and figure out these new mons and kind of see what they do. And apparently, Azumarill is crazy. Even
Yeah.
against Rain, apparently Rain stands no chance against Azumarill.
yeah, well, let's look at the teams that we're having right now. We see from Gemma's side is Amoonguss, Terrakion, Politoed, Kingdra, Togekiss, Volcarona. Some pretty standard Pokemon there, but again, we don't really have a standard 6 for this format yet. And what do you think of Austin's team?
So he has kind of half and half with the old format with the new format. When I say half and half, I mean it's Politoed and potentially what's that called? Grassy Slide? Is that the new?
Oh, Grassy Glide, yeah.
Grassy Glide. But yeah, not too much crazy there. That's different from Austin's team from last format. It's definitely not a standard team that you would see from the last format, but it's definitely some Pokemon that you would find before DLC.
Now, for that Pokemon in the first slot, I know you may have found it before the DLC, but do we think it's got its new Gmax form that came from the DLC?
I would assume that it absolutely does, yeah.
That'd be interesting to see, and see how well it matches up against this Politoed Kingdra, or whatever is coming from Gemma's side as she leads.
Well, kind of cool to see Politoed Kingdra here. I hope maybe it'll actually work out.
It'll get some revenge for last game. Let's see, from Austin's side we can see the leads of Rillaboom and Raichu.
Interesting.
And then Volcarona Amoonguss from Gemma's side.
Yami Darts, thanks for the follow. So we do see the Grassy Surge get set up here. We got to assume, well, I guess both of Austin's Pokemon here have Fake Out.
Yeah, so we could see a Fake Out from either of them. We could honestly see a Dynamax from the Rillaboom, although I wouldn't assume so with the Volcarona on the field. So it'll be interesting to see what Austin does, where he is in a board position-wise good position, but against the Pokemon the specific Volcarona on the field, not so great maybe.
So I would assume that this Amoonguss is probably just going to Rage Powder. Is that what, or do you think it's just going to turn one Spore?
I think Rage Powder is pretty safe. It probably wants to take a Nuzzle away from the Raichu, if that's what it goes for. As we see the Incineroar switch in for the Rillaboom. Getting the Intimidated off, although not very helpful, I don't think. But let's see. We see an immediate turn 1 Dynamax from the Volcarona. Well, this is interesting. Normally you'd see, a Quiver Dance come out from the Volcarona slot, but we see an immediate offense. What do you think it's going for?
My guess is probably an Airstream into the Rillaboom slot.
That's probably safe. So we see the Rage Powder from the Amoonguss, which means the Raichu didn't go for a Fake Out. A Nuzzle we see. Now, what item do you think could possibly be on the Amoonguss? I guess we're going to assume Focus Sash on the Raichu.
Well, it's not eject button. Otherwise, it would have popped out right there.
Yeah.
Which eject button? I know it's kind of funny, but it's not bad because Amoonguss is, I think, most common ability is Regenerator.
Yeah. No. It seems like it would be honestly a really good item on some Amoonguss sets. I'm not 100% sure what this one is, but eject button would have been cool, like say switching it in and switching it back out to get the Regenerator after it takes some hits.
Right, get that Rage Powder off, get hit, pop out, and let Gemma throw something in there that works. That gives her some better position. So what do you think Austin's idea is here with the Incineroar? Do you think it's meant to try and take out the Amoonguss, or potentially the Volcarona here?
I think we might see a Fake Out and a Nuzzle, just to get the Nuzzle off into the Volcarona. And we see the Fake Out, and then we see Airstream come out from the Volcarona. Not doing that much damage to Incineroar. Yeah, and so we do see the nuzzle. Well, what do you think happens from here? As we've seen, oh, I guess the flame body procs as well. Who do you think's in the better position here with Gemma using 2 turns of her Dynamax and getting speed boost, but also getting nuzzled to kind of nullify those?
I think that Gemma is playing very smart, but I think that Austin has given himself really good position by switching out the Rillaboom turn 1. I think that it was pretty smart of him to go into that Incineroar and kind of paralyze the field, but both of them aren't really taking a crazy amount of damage. I mean, the Incineroar has taken more damage than any Pokemon in either team's party.
Yeah, although trading your Incineroar for your opponent's Dynamax turns seems like a fair trade if you were to ask somebody whether they'd like to do that or not.
Right. As we have talked about in the past, it's always smart to kind of try and stall out the opposing trainer's Dynamax, and then if you can get a Dynamax off in the late game, it gives you a great advantage.
Mm-hmm. You see the right Volt switch. And I wonder what comes out in the back here.
So he's got Togekiss in the back there.
Yeah. And I know Austin... Oh, go ahead.
We see another Airstream come in. I think that's Gemma's 3rd, right? So that actually puts her at plus 0.75 or something like that.
I think it's just over +1 because 2 gets you back to neutral.
Okay.
So it's like 1.25, I think. As we see, Incineroar pretty much recover all of that back. And Flare Blitz into the Amoonguss, not picking up the KO.
That's impressive. I would have assumed that Amoonguss would have gone down, so we got to assume that this Amoonguss has a lot of HP investment as well as defensive investment.
Yeah, as we can see from the 215 HP, I believe that is 204 HP EVs. I could be wrong, but I believe that is 204 HP, so we would assume also a lot of defense investment.
So what do you think Gemma does here in order to prevent Austin from just kind of Dynamaxing with Togekiss and just sweeping?
I'm not really sure how much there is, because the Togekiss has, or the Dynamax has been worn down. We have 2 Pokemon weak to flying on the field, so I'm not quite sure exactly what Gemma can do to counteract a Dynamax Togekiss in this position.
Do you think Austin okay, so my question was going to be, do you think Austin has Parting Shot on the Incineroar? And if he does, then that would have allowed him to basically do the same thing that he just did.
Mm-hmm.
But with a little bit more to it, with the attack and special attack drops.
Yeah, I think potentially he was afraid of getting KO'd by a Bug Buzz from that position before getting the Parting Shot off, because the Volcarona still should be the first thing on the field to move. But and Amoonguss is paralyzed, going for either a Protect or a Rage Powder, as Volcarona does go for that Bug Buzz. And let's see how much it does here. A decent chunk. As we see the Volcarona get KO'd here. That full para really is not great, because it would have survived the turn with assuming a Rage Powder was coming. Although even at +1 special attack and +1 special defense and I guess +4 speed, I'm not exactly sure how much that would help against a Dynamax Togekiss. It could, but again, I'm not exactly sure. As we see Gemma debating whether or not to go into both one of her 2 last Pokemon, whether Togekiss or Terrakion. And we see Terrakion being the choice. Well, what do you think Gemma can do here?
I think her best bet is probably to just Rage Powder and then Rock Slide.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely going to take out the Raichu, and it's definitely going to... I mean, it's probably not going to take out the Togekiss, if we're being honest. It probably gets it right around half.
Yeah.
But one cool thing that I did notice, actually would have helped here, was the Quick Guard on the Terrakion.
Yeah, the Quick Guard would have been cool to block, potentially like a Quick Guard and a Spore into the Togekiss, if the Max Airstream goes off into the, well, it went off into the Amoonguss, so even that wouldn't have made a difference. As we see a very crucial Cobra Berry proc, though it's not going to help this game, it gives Austin information, or RollAcosta information for game 2. So it seems as though game 1 is probably a bit over. Although Terrakion could do some work with the Togekiss in the back giving follow me support. What do you think's gonna happen here?
I think, yeah, so there goes the grassy terrain there, so that means that the Rock Slide will probably do a big chunk, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Gemma needs to follow me away, probably another Airstream.
Yeah.
But I mean, even doing that, it's going to be really hard for her to come back from, I mean, potentially a Dazzling Gleam on the other side of the field, plus a Grassy Surge. She does have the Quick Guard, but Terrakion is the only one that has a lot of offensive pressure really right here, at least in this situation, with super effective damage.
Yeah. Plus with the Raichu on the field, there's always the threat of a Nuzzle, which is not great. Oh, we see a Volt Switch instead.
That does a lot of damage.
Yeah, just over half. Let's see what it's either Incineroar or Rillaboom, and Incineroar again, cycling the Intimidate. Which is going to get KO'd here, probably due to the Rock Slide that's coming out from Terrakion. Unless, of course, it misses, which would pretty much seal this game up.
Wow. So the Togekiss lives on 5 HP from the max Airstream there. And that's going to put Austin's Togekiss at +3. Was that his third?
Oh, and we see the Incineroar dodge. I spoke it into existence. I apologize. But
You're
so
known for doing that.
It looks like this one is kind of down the drain as we see Gemma go for the forfeit. What do you think she can do to adjust for game 2?
I think the Terrakion is a really good thing for her to have on her side. I'm not sure that she necessarily brought it in too late. I think that she needs to use that a little bit differently. She also needs to be aware of the fact that Dynamax Togekiss is a real thing, and but when I say that, I mean it's a massive threat to her team. If Austin has Max Starfall on his Togekiss, then that could even do a lot of damage to Gemma's Terrakion.
I think one interesting thing is for Gemma not to Dynamax so early. It seemed like she wanted to just take a quick KO with the Dynamax when the switch out happened, and she kind of got her Dynamax stalled out by the Incineroar coming in and taking 3 full Airstreams and not getting KO'd. So I think she needs to be a little bit more patient with the Dynamax and maybe that'll help in this matchup, but who's to say whether that's the best option or whether going with a completely different Dynamax is the best option.
Yeah, I think something that Gemma could do a little differently here on top of that is maybe even just going for some setup early on and like you said, not Dynamaxing, but she has the option to lead Togekiss and Volcarona and just follow me away pretty much anything. I mean, obviously except for the double fake out, but
and even then, I believe I guess the Volcarona doesn't have Protect, but the Togekiss has Protect to protect away from that. So I think another thing is she needs to be a little bit more aggressive with the Amoonguss, knowing when to Spore and when to Rage Powder, because if you're just clicking Rage Powder every single turn with Amoonguss, you're not really getting that much value out of it. So I think that's like one of the important things. Well, let's see what the leads are for game 2.
I think this series is going to be very fun with the addition of how many Pokemon were added on?
To 100 and I don't know actually.
It was like 120 or something like that, or 210, or I don't know. It was a 2 and a 1 and a 0, and
yeah, we see the same leads from RollAcosta, and a completely different idea from Gemma here with the Kingdra instead of the Volcarona.
What's the idea behind Leer on the team here?
I believe that should not be Leer. I believe that should be a Dragon move. Probably Draco Meteor, but I would like to apologize because this is my rental code. And somehow Draco Meteor either got deleted or did not get put onto this Kingdra. So, although there's not really a point in this matchup where clicking Draco is valuable at all, except against potentially the... Oh, we see the Dynamax here, probably from the Rillaboom. Yes, and we're going to see a Gmax drum solo come out here with the new Gigantamax Rillaboom. Pretty terrifying looking, to be honest. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet either. That is pretty scary.
We see the
Kindra's gonna protect. I don't know how much that's gonna matter. Like, this Rillaboom looks like it's about to just eat the Kingdra for breakfast.
And we're gonna see the Gmax drum solo, 160 base power grass move into this Kingdra's protect. Doing a decent amount.
So it does about 45%, and we'll see the residual damage coming after.
Oh no, this doesn't have residual. It's not Venusaur or Blastoise. It just has the very strong added effect.
Oh, it's always 160?
I believe so.
Okay.
So an interesting... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, but that's for any grass move, right?
Yes, I believe so. The interesting thing here is that the Rillaboom does not care about the Rage Powder and can attack straight into the Kingdra because it is a grass type. So, with looking what Gemma has in the back, every single other Pokemon on the team is weak to grass moves. So it is an interesting situation here on how to beat this Rillaboom. And I guess Gemma's answer is Hurricane Confusion, which honestly isn't a bad idea. As we see the switch into Politoed to get the automatic speed boost here.
Yeah, I think Austin acknowledges that Gmax Rillaboom does a lot for this team here.
Yeah, I think it was the right call for this game. As we see the Hurricane come out, doing about half. That's a decent amount of damage.
That's a surprising amount.
We see the Volt switch into the Politoed, predicting the switch in as it gets the Citrus Berry. Perfectly EV'd, I might add. But we'll see that probably switch out into... I'm not sure what it would switch out into at this point.
Possibly Incineroar or Togekiss.
Togekiss. And we will probably see the KO onto the Kingdra here with the Gmax drum solo.
Targeting the Kingdra down.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting position here because it's either Amoonguss or Terrakion in the back. And I'm not too sure either of them can do that much damage to this Rillaboom. Maybe stall out the Dynamax and then try to max with Terrakion. That seems like it could be a decent play. I'm not exactly sure what other option there is at this point.
Well, I'm not 100% sure what Austin has on his Rillaboom here, but if he can keep this Amoonguss around for a turn or two and kind of pray that Politoed can... Gemma can pray that the Politoed stays alive, then the Amoonguss could just switch out into Terrakion and allow that Regenerator to give it some health back.
Yeah, the problem is I'm not sure there will ever be a free switch in for the Terrakion, as we do see the Protect from Politoed. And the drum solo into... this might KO from where it is.
Oh my goodness.
Again, perfectly EV'd to Protect, I might add. But we see the Kobe Berry proc from this Togekiss, and I believe this is a Serene Grace Togekiss. So a flinch is...
Is this similar Politoed that we may have seen earlier in the stream?
I don't know. Was this the same as your Politoed?
Yes, it was.
Oh wow. So we see a crit flinch into the Amoonguss, so it was either Scope Lens and flinched, or Serene Grace and crit, which neither of the two are good news for Gemma in this position, and it's looking pretty bleak. It seems like the way out here is to Rock Slide flinch a lot of stuff.
So we got to assume that the Grassy Glide is there.
Yeah, that is true. We've seen Grass Move, which could be Wood Hammer, it could be Grassy Glide. We've seen, I think that's it, Fake Out, we would assume. And then we
just so there's, yep. So that's going to take the Politoed out, allowing a free switch in for the Terrakion.
Yeah. And at this point, even a critical hit and Rock Slide punches aren't going to help because the Grassy Glide is priority.
Well, she hasn't maxed yet, so...
That is true, but I think she's going to need the spread moves at this point.
Well, if she maxes the Terrakion, then the Grassy Glide is probably only going to do about 20% if I were to guess.
Oh, are you sure on that one with the Life Orb and everything else? I'm going to guess that it does about 75%.
Do you think even if it's maxed, do you think it does that much?
Yeah, I think it has a chance.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really know my Terrakion spreads just yet. So...
As we see the Incineroar switch in for the... Yeah. And we'll see, what do we see from the we see Quick Guard.
Oh, no.
Maybe for the to protect from the Grassy Glide and then get the Sludge Bomb. But no, that was a really good play. But at this point, and the poison, maybe this will do something. We'll probably see a double protect on Gemz end this turn to not have to deal with the fake out. But a great play for Austin would be to fake out and to switch the Togekiss into the Rillaboom. But I doubt we'll see something along the lines of that.
Do you think Austin RollAcosta fakes out the Amoonguss here?
I would assume a fake out. Actually, I'm not sure. Because a fake out into the Terrakion is dangerous because it might Dynamax.
Well, if I'm RollAcosta, then I'm probably assuming that Terrakion is going to use its max here.
Yeah.
And Amoonguss wouldn't be able to do anything if it gets fake out.
As we see no switch outs, we see the Dynamax Terrakion.
And a Master Ball.
Yes, and a Master Ball from my 5-year-old Omega Ruby cart that took me forever to transfer over. But we see the Terrakion Dynamax, and it does have full Dynamax candies, thankfully. And I assume we're going to see it go for the Amoonguss protecting first. Let's see if Incineroar went for a fake out. No fake out. We see the Max Knuckle come out into Incineroar. And puts it just inside of its berry range. So the poison won't even be able to take it out. Well, this seems a bit bleak at this point, as we see the Air Slash into the Protect. And what do we see, a Parting Shot? Yeah.
We see a Parting Shot into the Terrakion.
Well, the one thing that's nice that RollAcosta hasn't seen, that we have seen just from being the announcers here, is that the Terrakion is Focus Sash, if that's going to matter at any point.
Right. We see another fake out user come in.
You've heard of cycling intimidates? This is just cycling fake outs. But the problem is that this Terrakion has to get the Raichu off the field this turn. Otherwise, it's going to be in trouble with like Nuzzles and other things that are going to pretty much end this game.
So what do you think? What do you think Gemma does here?
Well, she went for the Rock Fall into the Raichu to take it out, but we see the Incineroar come back in, taking the Terrakion down to -2. So this cycling intimidates is not going so well.
I think that's actually -3 because it came in. Incineroar came in one other time. Or no, we did see the.
We saw the Max Knuckle bring it up one. So. Yeah, it seems like Gemma's play. It seems like we see a Flamethrower. So no, not even an Air Slash miss.
Interesting that it's Flamethrower and not Heat Wave.
Yeah, I know Austin talks about using the Fire move strictly for the Ferrothorn matchup.
And now it's for Amoonguss.
Yeah, but specifically the Ferrothorn matchup, and having the consistent single target damage that doesn't miss is a lot nicer than having the chance to miss and only doing spread damage, especially for Assault Vest Ferrothorn. So that seems as to why he chose that. Well, let's see how much a Rockfall does. A -2 Rockfall does to Togekiss, if it even gets the attack off at this point. And with Gemma's luck, I'm not even sure it's going to. We do see the Rockfall come out. What do you think, 60%?
Less than that, I think. Yeah, well...
About 65, 65? 60? I don't know.
I'll give you 60. I'll say you nailed it right on the button there.
Well, now we can just see another Dazzling Gleam and a Volt Switch. Hopefully, RollAcosta spares us the Volt Switch animation and switch out, and just goes for something like...
I don't know, the Volt Switch animation's pretty cool.
The animation is cool, but switch out and time to switch in... Well, maybe we'll see his Blastoise come out as the last
They Volt Switch, he does.
Or no, we've already seen everything. So this is going to be the Rillaboom coming back out.
Which means we're also going to see the grassy terrain get set up.
RollAcosta just had to make this the longest thing. No, but... And then I assume we'll just see a Dazzling Gleam from the Togekiss. I mean, what do you think about this set? I feel like Gemma got very unlucky in Game 1 with that full para on the Amoonguss. And Terrakion is fully paired. I feel like the luck definitely favored one of the two players, and that player was not Gemma this series. So you really have to take that into account when you analyze what happened.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Gemma kind of did what I also did. I saw the excitement in Rain being added on, and the fact that Kingdra could be cool. And when you're making a Rain team, it's kind of hard to think about what RollAcosta kind of planned for there with the Rillaboom. I mean, Rillaboom just straight up checks Rain.
Yeah.
And Terrakion too. I mean, it's tough there.
Yeah, I think the thing is Gemma probably had to lead Kingdra Politoed and Helping Hand Airstream into the Rillaboom. But even then, that left her open to a Nuzzle if that was the case. So even that's not a great play.